Hi, I want to talk to you about the Catholic Church and the Bible. As I became a Christian, I was always excited about the sacred scriptures, the Bible. I always would try to find verses that were relevant to my life and share them with my friends. I came to Christ through the Young Life program and eventually was involved in Bible study at 16 years of age and 17 in high school. And then as soon as I got to college, I looked for Campus Crusade for Christ and was involved in Bible study with them. And then as soon as I switched college to Worcester Polytechnic Institute, I was involved in early morning Bible study at 5 o'clock, preparing for 3 hours, filling out a blank sheet of paper, studying intensely scriptures, and taking chapters and dividing them into sections, and outlining, and word studies, and Greek studies, and intensive studies of scripture all my life. I then went on to the mission field. I went to Saudi Arabia, was involved there with scripture memory, even though Christians is completely outlawed. I then came back, went to seminary to learn how to reach out to Muslims, went to Arab Ministry to reach out to Muslims, intensive seminar, and then eventually went to Germany to work with Call of Hope, and also was teaching the Bible, basically the Bible correspondence course. Once again, all my life filled with the Bible. I came back to live in Naples, Florida, worked there for a year and a half. Once again, studying the Bible on my own, and started planning Arabic churches in Orlando back in 1998. Planning a couple of churches, helped them in that process, motivating people to serve the Lord among the Arabs and the Muslims, and was intensively studying the scriptures on my own. I was trying to learn Greek and delve into the actual text, and the longer and the more time I spent, the more I realized something was missing in my Protestant faith. Something was empty, something was wrong. Because I'd read these verses about Jesus in John chapter 6. I would stay up late at night. I would wake up in the middle of the night just to read John chapter 6 again and again. I was fascinated with what happened, how Jesus seemed to be so much in control of the whole situation there. And this thing about eating his flesh and drinking his blood, it just started to hit me harder and harder over the head. At the same time, I started watching EWTN, which is Journey Home program. And I found out that there were pastors who were leading congregations based on reading Scripture, based on reading verses of Scripture. They would encounter Christ in the flesh and blood of John chapter 6 and 1 Corinthians 11:29, for example, which says that this is the body of God. This piece of bread is the body of God. And that struck me so deep. And I said, listen, I want to eat the real flesh and blood of Christ. I knew what it was like to eat this symbol. I remember going to church, eating this tray full of crackers and grape juice, and I'm thinking, is this really what Jesus intended? Is this really what Jesus wanted? Did he want symbols? I looked in the New Testament for the word symbol, I didn't find it. But that's a little bit off the topic, that's in the Eucharist. But back to the Bible. So I was wanting a church which really taught the Bible. And I realized more and more in my study, the things I was hearing from the pulpit, they would seem to be twisting words or not using them correctly, not really capturing the thoughts of the original author. When I started going to the Catholic Church, things were different. I noticed they spent at least 3 minutes, I timed it on the stopwatch, 3 minutes of Bible reading non-stop. It wasn't interrupted with a sermon, didn't start with a sermon, it ended with a homily. So they first read Scripture, non-stop, uninterrupted Scripture. They start with the Old Testament. Most of the time, 90% of the time, they have an Old Testament reading. 100% of the time, they have reading from the Psalms. And I so much loved hearing the Psalms. I want to hear the Psalms every day. And I found a church where I could hear the Psalms every single day of the week. Every single day of the year. No doubt. And the other thing, the most beautiful thing, is it had the words of Jesus Christ. We turn open the King James Version of the Bible that has the words of Christ in red. But you can hear the words of Christ in red every day in the Catholic Church because they have to read from the Gospel. They absolutely have to. It's 100% guaranteed. They cannot have a service, even if it's another kind of side service, it's always a Mass. They never have a service except for a Mass. They celebrate special occasions with a Mass. They celebrate certain events with a Mass. It always has to be a Mass, and the Mass always has to include the Gospel reading. Weddings have to include the Gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's the Scriptures. And so when I went back to the Baptist church, I time it, and it was like, it's only 1 minute, if even that. Sometimes it's only one verse. I remember going to an evening service, they didn't even quote the Bible at all. They talked about losing weight. And I'm thinking, is this what I want? Is this the kind of church I want? No. I want a church that reads the Bible, guaranteed. I want a church that reads the Psalms, guaranteed. I want a church that reads the gospel of Jesus Christ, his words coming out of his mouth, guaranteed every single day. And sometimes twice, 3 times a day, sometimes more. All over the world. It's always the same. It's always the same reading. So whenever you go to a Catholic church, you can look up what they're going to read the next Sunday. And you know what it's going to be. It's not guess. It's not a guess. It's not the pastor's idea. It's the church's idea. The church has decided what to read. The church has decided it's a unity. It's in union. And it's always the same reading all over the world. Every single Catholic church is reading the same portion of scriptures around the world. It's called union. In all the churches in America, they use the same version. So when you're quoting and talking about a version, you don't have to worry about what version of the Bible the other Catholics are talking about. They know what version you're talking about because it's all the same version, the New American Bible. That's what they decided to do. And the teaching is completely a separate piece from the Bible, even though it's intertwined and totally dependent and interdependent on the Bible. The Bible is the most quoted source for all of the teaching of the church. It's the same teaching, regardless. It's always the same around the world. You know when you meet a Catholic, what they believe because it's in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's so biblical. It's so amazing how it's biblical and united. There's no other church like this. And so when you want the Bible, why go to a church that's only going to read 45 seconds of the Bible? Or 1 minute of the Bible when you have 3 minutes? And talk about a Bible bath, go to Easter Vigil. They have 45 minutes straight Bible reading non-stop, beginning to end. The whole entire salvation history. Quoted, one after the other. It's amazing. It's total Bible. Because guess what? The Catholic Church, they made the Bible in the year 350. Pope St. Damasus said, now it's time to make a Bible, and here's what it's going to look like. Here's all the books. Here's all the chapters. Bang, 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 bang. The whole thing. And then he had to gather the bishops, and they all voted and agreed, yes, that's it. And that was done. The Bible the work was started. And then Jerome created the Latin Vulgate Bible. And it was never been changed. In this 1800 years or so, since its creation, it never once changed. It never changed. Not one word of it. It's in Latin. It's the same thing. It's the only Bible that's never been changed. The only one that's been preserved from the beginning is the Latin Vulgate version of the Bible. And it's just amazing to be involved with a church that not only knows the Bible and teaches the Bible more than anyone else. 350,000 masses a day all over the world. They made the Bible itself. So that's the church that I want to be in, and I would invite you to do the same. Come home to the church that made the Bible and knows the Bible and teaches it more than any other church in the world.